Do you often find yourself tossing and turning late at night, gripped by a nameless fear over things that have not even happened yet? Your mind is like a machine that will not shut off. This is Zen Seeker Wu, and today I want to share something with you about the one habit that silently drains your life of everything good. You lose sleep over expectations that may never arrive. You mentally rehearse 1,000 scenarios for a meeting that has not taken place. You agonize over outcomes that never had clear answers to begin with. You believe that if you just think hard enough, if you prepare thoroughly enough, you can somehow control what the future holds. But here is the truth. All of that overthinking is borrowing against the good fortune of your life before it even arrives. Every piece of worry you refuse to let go of is a wall standing between you and inner peace. Your only real job is to do your best in this present moment. Everything else should be handed over to the larger rhythm of time and natural law. I want to offer these words to you right now, you whose mind is still full of noise, who has been thinking far too much. We spend our whole lives making the same serious mistake without even realizing it. We habitually waste our most precious life energy on things that have not happened. We burn through irreplaceable mental resources on worries that have no basis in reality. Take an honest look at your life. The ground beneath your feet is actually quite solid. You have a job, you have food on the table, you have a bed to sleep in, and yet you cannot stop yourself from staring into that distant fog you cannot even see through. Your heart full of panic and unease. You have already given something your absolute best effort, done everything within your power, and still you lie awake at night in a frenzy of worry. What if my effort does not pay off? What if all the time I invested leads nowhere? Think of it this way. Imagine you are holding a freshly brewed cup of warm tea. The aroma is gentle, the temperature is perfect. This is the exact moment when it is most soothing, most comforting to drink. But the person holding that cup refuses to be still. He will not take even 1 minute to simply taste the sweetness and fragrance right in front of him. His mind is consumed with worry. What if the tea gets cold? What if the aroma fades? What if someone takes my tea away? So his hands begin to grip the cup tighter and tighter. His muscles tense up from anxiety. His arms start to tremble. And what happens in the end? He never takes a single sip. Instead, his shaking hands spill the hot tea everywhere, scalding himself, leaving nothing but burns and pain. In this complicated world, only a small fraction of our suffering actually comes from the objective hardships life throws at us. The rest, the vast majority, comes from our mind and its relentless need for control. Overthinking is essentially the most draining form of mental attachment that exists. Many ancient wisdom traditions share a common idea. They teach that all things follow a natural rhythm of unfolding. The good fortune in your life, the opportunities, the peace of mind. These are like a reservoir of energy, and overthinking is the crack at the bottom of that reservoir, silently draining it dry. Every event has its preconditions. Every outcome follows its own natural law in financial markets. We often say that returns are compensation for risk. In life, good fortune is actually a byproduct of inner peace. The quieter your mind becomes, the sharper your ability to detect subtle signals and opportunities. Why do I say overthinking causes your good fortune and energy to quietly slip away? Because you are engaged in an extremely expensive form of overdraft. You are borrowing worries that belong to the future while spending the energy you actually have right now. Think of your mind, your attention, as a very small container with fixed capacity. When that container is filled with joy, peace, focus, and presence, your entire being radiates a sense of calm and ease. Your gaze is steady, your movements are relaxed, your decision-making is sharp. But the moment you begin to overthink, the moment you spiral into anxiety about the future, you are forcing baseless fears and uncontrollable worries into that container one by one. We all know that any physical space has limits. Your cognitive bandwidth is no different. When you allocate most of your mental processing power to imaginary threats, there is simply no room left for good fortune to enter. When anxiety fills the container, joy naturally fades. You are spending your most valuable assets, your time and energy, on a future you cannot even touch. Naturally, you have nothing left to appreciate the warmth that is right in front of you. You have nothing left to invest in the life you are actually living. When your thoughts are tangled up in things you cannot control, the economy, other people's opinions, unknown variables, you completely lose the ability to feel inner peace. And a person without inner peace cannot make good decisions. Without good decisions, you cannot accumulate compound returns in the long game of life. I once knew someone like this, a person who was brilliant and talented in many ways. But he was a textbook case of someone destroyed by overthinking. Whenever he considered doing anything, even just an early stage idea for a project, before he had written a single line of code or made a single phone call, his brain would already be spinning out countless failure scenarios. What if a competitor beats me to it? What if the market suddenly turns? What if my partner quits halfway through? It was the same in his relationships. Even when he met someone new and the connection felt good, his mind would immediately start imagining scenarios of betrayal and abandonment. During the day, this heavy cloud of thought pressed down on him until he could barely breathe. He could eat the finest food and taste nothing because his attention was not on his tongue. It was on the imaginary battlefield inside his head. At night, he would toss and turn, unable to sleep. The insomnia destroyed his nervous system and made him more irritable and unfocused the next day. He would always tell me the same thing. He was terrified of not being good enough, terrified of losing, terrified of disappointing the people who believed in him. Day after day, year after year. Under this enormous psychological drain, his health visibly deteriorated. His entire presence radiated exhaustion and defeat. And the worst part is that this kind of negative energy is contagious. The people around him, those who once admired him and wanted to collaborate with him, were slowly worn down by his endless worry and negativity. They found being around him too exhausting, and one by one, they drifted away. He used to stubbornly believe that this was just him being thorough, being cautious, having sophisticated risk awareness. But years later, when he watched people who were less clever than him, who thought less than him, but who simply had the courage to act, when he watched them achieve real results in life, he finally understood. His so-called careful deliberation was nothing more than brutal self-destruction. He had been pouring his most precious life energy into a black hole that did not even exist. Ancient philosophical wisdom tells us that baseless worry is the dust that blinds our eyes, and attachment to things we cannot control is an ocean of suffering. We need to understand a very important truth. Overthinking was never a sign of being awake or aware. It is actually a reflection of inner uncertainty. It reveals a deep distrust of natural law and the principle of cause and effect. You must build this understanding deep within yourself. What is meant to happen in this world will happen regardless of how much you worry. You cannot escape it, and what is not meant to happen, no matter how many times you rehearse it in your mind at night, no matter how afraid you are, it will never come to pass. The vast majority of our excessive worry is nothing more than a laughable and completely futile form of self-destruction. Its only function is to drain your energy like a parasite, to waste opportunities you could have used to create value, and to completely disturb what would otherwise be a clear and peaceful mind. Only when you truly commit to letting go of this compulsive overthinking, only when you stop borrowing worry from the future, can you protect your energy, hold on to the lightness of the present moment, and find your own rhythm in this chaotic world. Most of the time, the reason we think too much, the reason we fall into that suffocating anxiety, is simply because things did not go according to the script we wrote in our heads. We cling too tightly to the fantasy we constructed. We grip our narrow expectations and refuse to let go. We arrogantly assume that if things do not unfold the way we wanted, it must be fate punishing us. It must be an irreversible tragedy. But in many traditions of deep wisdom, particularly in certain Eastern philosophical systems, you will find a perspective that completely overturns common assumptions. Every time things do not go your way, it is actually a higher order of natural law quietly protecting you from disaster. Our human perspective is extremely limited. We can only see the tiny patch of ground right in front of us. Think of a seed that has just been planted in a field. If you had the consciousness of that seed, buried deep in cold, dark soil with no light in sight, you would surely feel it as cruel torture. You would cry out, Why can I not see the sun? Why am I being crushed under all this weight? But what you do not realize is that the thick layer of soil is nature protecting you. It shields you from the scorching sun that would dry you out. It hides you from the birds that would devour you. In that seemingly dark earth, you are quietly sending roots downward, absorbing water, gathering strength. When the right season arrives, when your cycle comes, you will have roots strong enough to break through the surface and stand tall in the sunlight. So many of life's experiences work exactly like this seed. Those things you currently see as devastating losses, those setbacks that make you weep and resist, those expectations that were never fulfilled, even those sudden heartbreaking goodbyes. When you stretch the timeline out far enough, they are often just life protecting you in ways you cannot see. You were simply blocked from a path that looked promising on the surface, but was actually full of hidden danger. The system was rerouting you, redirecting your trajectory toward a future that is safer and more fitting for who you are. We are always too stubbornly attached to our own expectations, too fixated on that perfect future that exists only in our mental blueprints. We think our own calculations are unbeatable. But in this vast, random, chaotic system of reality, the arrangement of natural law is always far more thorough and far more compassionate than our limited personal expectations could ever be. Engrave this in your heart. What you think you lost may actually be another form of gain. What you think is regret may actually be another form of completeness. The setbacks that feel unbearable right now may be the universe placing a roadblock ahead of you, forcing you to stop, shielding you from harm. If you can look beneath the surface of any event, you will find deep necessity and meaning behind it. Every time things do not go your way, it looks like cold rejection on the outside, but at its core, it holds a hidden kindness from the world. So truly, stop agonizing. Stop seeking out people to complain to about how unfair life is. Stop hiding under your covers at night, feeling sorry for yourself. We need to learn an extremely important psychological skill. The ability to shift perspective, learn to trust the way things naturally unfold. Trust that as long as you stay on the right path, as long as you maintain integrity and effort, all arrangements will ultimately lead to the best possible outcome. Even if everything looks terrible right now, believe that today's disappointments will transform into tomorrow's unexpected arrivals at exactly the right time. Once you can make this shift in your mind, the worries in your head will dissolve like smoke. And when you are no longer wasting energy on internal conflict, your clear and open energy field will naturally attract good fortune toward you. When we truly learn to release that compulsive overthinking about the future, when we master the ability to shift perspective through wisdom, we must then touch upon an even higher level of understanding. I have come to call it surrender. I know that in modern society, in this culture that worships strength and competition, many people feel immediate resistance when they hear the word surrender. Their mental defenses activate instantly. They think surrender means weak compromise. They think it means giving up without a fight. They think it means cowardice in the face of difficulty. They believe a person should always be a warrior, always fighting, always conquering. They believe human will can overpower anything. But if you have truly studied how the world operates, whether through the laws of physics or the mental models of the greatest investors, you will find that this is not the case at all. True surrender is never compromise. It is not giving up in despair. It is certainly not cowardice. Surrender is an extremely clear form of wisdom. It is the compassion and clarity that comes from seeing through the complexity of the world. What is surrender? Surrender is finally accepting, deep in your heart, the absolute truth that all things are impermanent. You stop behaving like a stubborn child who demands the world operate according to your wishes. Instead, you trust and align with the larger objective arrangement. Surrender is completely releasing your attachment to all external things. It is pulling back all those expectations you placed on other people, expectations that usually only bring disappointment. Surrender is anchoring all of your attention, all of your mental energy entirely in this present moment. It is doing what is in front of you with complete focus and devotion. As for what fruit it will bear in the end, you choose to hand that over entirely. Hand it to time. Hand it to natural law. Hand it to something greater than yourself. Imagine a white cloud drifting in the sky. That cloud never agonizes over what shape it should be today. It does not worry that it looked like a sheep one moment and was scattered the next. It never feels anxious about where the wind will carry it tomorrow, whether over mountains or across oceans. It simply follows the current of the air, drifting with absolute freedom and ease. When the wind comes, it moves with the wind and experiences the lightness of flight. When the wind stops, it hangs quietly in the air and feels the peace of stillness. It does not fight changes in pressure. It does not cling to a fixed form. It does not obsess over where the wind is going. It is precisely because of this total surrender and alignment that it can forever maintain its lightness and purity, forever resting in a state of peace. Our brief and unpredictable human lives should be the same. We must learn to surrender to our current circumstances, whether they appear good or bad. We must learn to surrender to the law of cause and effect. You reap what you sow. Do not try to take shortcuts. We must learn to surrender to the arrangement of reality. Do not go head to head against impermanence, because you will never overpower natural law. Do not cling desperately to one specific outcome, because outcomes are determined by countless variables beyond your control. And do not keep revisiting and agonizing over things that have already happened. When you truly stop fighting against reality, against the past, against the future, when you stop being anxious about the unknown fog ahead, something remarkable happens. You will feel like a battery that had been leaking power for years, suddenly repaired. All those holes sealed. The precious energy you had been wasting through overthinking will begin flowing back into you, steadily and continuously. The good fortune you lost to anxiety will quietly return when you least expect it. Only then, in this noisy world, will you truly understand what inner peace feels like, what genuine ease and stability actually mean. In the days ahead, remind yourself often. Every minute of your attention is an extremely valuable asset. Do not cheaply sell it off to fears about things that have not happened. Whenever you feel your thoughts starting to race like a wild horse galloping toward imagined disasters, I want you to take a deep breath. Pull your awareness back to your breathing. Pull it back to the one small, concrete thing you are doing right now. In this complex world, only grounded action and a heart willing to surrender to the present moment can serve as your strongest defense against any storm. Once your inner world stops that destructive self-consumption, the abundance and beauty and miracles that were always meant to be part of your life will naturally reveal themselves along your path, one by one. Remember this. Do what you need to do, then let it go. That is the highest way to live. If you have listened this far, it means something subtle has already begun to shift inside you. Now take a deep breath. Gather all of your mental energy and focus it on what you need to accomplish today. You will find that all the answers live within this state of no longer fighting, within this clarity of surrender. Surrendering to the present moment, the first thing this requires, and it goes against every human instinct, is to absolutely stop dwelling on the past. The human brain has a terrible default setting. It works like a hard drive with unlimited storage, constantly pulling up emotionally charged fragments from the past and replaying them on a loop. Whatever happened before, whether you once held a high position and enjoyed wealth and admiration, or whether you hit rock bottom and knew what it felt like to have nothing. Whether a past venture went smoothly and made you rich, or whether you were betrayed by a partner and endured devastating hardship. From the absolute physical law of time, all of it is completely over. Past events have solidified in the coordinates of the universe. No matter how much mental energy you spend today, no matter how many tears of regret you shed, you cannot change their trajectory by even a millimeter. We can borrow a very useful concept from finance to understand this. It is called sunk cost. When you pour massive psychological energy and time into regretting past mistakes or clinging to past glory, you are continuing to invest in a sunk cost. In the world of investing, this is extremely foolish. In the management of your life, it is fatal. It is like a glass of water accidentally knocked off a table. The water has already soaked into the carpet. No matter how hard you beat your chest in frustration, no matter how loudly you blame yourself for not holding the glass more carefully, no matter how much inner turmoil you experience, that water will never defy the laws of physics and flow back into your glass. The longer you stand there staring at the stain, the more you lose, because you have not only lost the water, you have also lost the precious time you could have spent simply pouring yourself a fresh glass. You are inflicting a second wound on yourself using an event that already happened and cannot be changed. I have seen people who were once extremely successful in their careers but later went bankrupt due to market cycles or poor decisions. The ones I feel most sorry for are not those who lost everything. They are the ones whose bodies live in today but whose minds are permanently stuck in yesterday. They always have the phrase "back in my day" on their lips. Deep down, they cannot accept that the spotlight is gone. When they look for new opportunities, they unconsciously judge every starting point against the high standards of their past. The result is that they are too proud for small beginnings but unable to reach their former heights. They stay stuck in place, suffering daily under the weight of that gap. It is only when they truly learn to release their attachment to the past, when they make genuine peace with a history that held both glory and failure, that miracles begin to happen. They start to understand that past achievements, if they cannot be converted into present wisdom, are nothing but a burden of vanity. Past hardships, if they cannot be converted into present strength, are nothing but pointless suffering. Only when you treat past glory as objective data that once existed, and past hardship as training that elevated your understanding, only when you refuse to dwell in either one, can you finally throw off those heavy mental burdens. When you travel light, you can focus all your energy on the single step right in front of you. That is what it truly means to be grounded in the present. The second essential aspect of surrendering to the present is to absolutely stop being anxious about the future. If you observe the people around you carefully, or look honestly within yourself, you will find that the vast majority of our mental drain comes from trying to control future variables that are fundamentally uncontrollable. The future is essentially a complex, chaotic system filled with countless unknowns and randomness. No matter how flawless the plan you write in your journal today, no matter how many nights you spend running mental simulations, no matter how vigilantly you try to guard against every possibility, you cannot control its overall direction, and you certainly cannot predict its final outcome with any certainty. This desire to control the future is like a farmer standing at the edge of his field every day. Trying to control tomorrow's weather, trying to control the changing of the seasons. You can estimate probabilities, but you cannot decide whether it will rain tomorrow. Facing an uncertain future, rather than burning through your precious life energy in pointless anxiety that produces nothing of substance, it is far better to completely release your obsessive need for certainty about what comes next. Pull your gaze back from the distant horizon. Fix it firmly on what you are doing right now, in this moment. Pour yourself fully into making each small action of today as excellent as it can be. Understand the philosophy of compound growth. Every minute you spend focused at work today, every moment of patience you show your family today, every page you read today to expand your understanding, all of these are deposits into your life as a count. These seemingly small efforts, through the magic of time, will eventually become real dividends and real good fortune tomorrow. Your persistence today, your refusal to give up, will become your confidence and hope when facing bigger challenges tomorrow. The calm composure you maintain today in this noisy world will become the protective barrier that carries you safely through future storms. So truly, do not worry about what disasters the future might hold. Do not let the fluctuations of the larger environment fill you with anxiety and confusion. The objective laws governing this world are remarkably fair. Time never fails anyone who quietly tends their own garden and keeps making consistent effort. It never overlooks the sincerity and kindness you put into your interactions with others. As an individual within this vast system, your permissions are very limited. You only need to be responsible for your own inputs. Do your work with integrity and without cutting corners. Sharpen your skills. Take care of your health. As for the outputs, those belong to the system as calculations. Hand them over completely. Hand them to the law of cause and effect. Hand them to the larger flow of time. As long as you make the right choices in each present moment, the future will naturally have its own perfectly appropriate arrangement. When we talk about surrendering to the present at an even deeper level, the hardest part to practice is learning to focus entirely on cultivating yourself. So often the reason we fall into jealous anxiety, the reason our brains feel like hundreds of monkeys screaming at once, is simply because our attention is pointed in the wrong direction. We scatter our expensive mental resources like pepper flakes, tossing them carelessly onto external people and events. We care too much. We expect too much reciprocation after helping someone. We obsess over changing external events that are completely outside our control. We get tangled up in social drama and gossip that has nothing to do with our actual well-being. We are like faulty radar systems broadcasting all our signals outward every day, trying to detect every tiny tremor in the external world, while completely forgetting to point the detector inward toward our own hearts. We forget that in this world, the only thing you can fully own, the only thing truly worth spending your entire life cultivating, is your own inner world. The thing most deserving of your careful protection is this body that carries your soul. The practice most worth committing to every single day is the continuous elevation of your self-awareness. Many traditions of deep wisdom share an extremely profound core insight. Your inner world is the ultimate lens through which you perceive everything outside of you. It is the source from which all external phenomena take shape in your mind. When you quiet your inner world through continuous self-awareness, you will find that the noisy, hostile world outside suddenly becomes still. When your understanding deepens and your inner clarity grows strong enough to see through to the essence of how things work, those problems that once tormented you will dissolve like morning mist in sunlight, vanishing without a trace. When your inner core becomes unshakable, when you are no longer easily swayed by external judgments, you will find that everything you do begins to flow with remarkable smoothness, as if an invisible force is carrying you forward. This inner cultivation is not some abstract theory. It can be grounded in the specific details of your daily life. In the morning when you wake up, do not immediately grab your phone and flood your mind with anxiety-inducing news. Instead, make yourself a warm cup of tea, sit by the window and quietly savor the aroma. Begin your day without rushing, giving your brain a gentle startup process. On weekends or in your free time after work, even if you only have 30 minutes, do not scroll through short videos that trigger comparison and envy. Instead, read a passage from a philosophical classic or wisdom text that has stood the test of thousands of years. These words act like a cleanser for the mind, effectively purifying the mental pollution accumulated from a busy day, giving your spirit a quiet corner to rest. When you feel completely exhausted at work and your brain is about to shut down, do not try to force more energy through coffee or cigarettes. Instead, close your eyes and breathe deeply. Give yourself a few minutes to truly relax your body and mind. In your relationships with others, maintain a simple state free of entanglement and drain. Do not compare yourself with peers over who has the better car or bigger house. Those are rules someone else made up. Do not complain to the people around you about how unfair life is. Complaining solves nothing and only diminishes your own energy. Do not stubbornly demand that every relationship must have a perfect ending. When a connection has run its course, let go with grace. You only need to hold your own ground. Do what your role requires of you. Guard the clarity and authenticity of your inner self. Do not let every small disturbance in the outside world throw you into chaos. Do not let one careless remark from someone else keep you awake all night. When you truly pull all of your mental energy back inward, when you focus entirely on running your own system, when you plant yourself firmly in each specific moment of the present, you will notice something remarkable. Those anxieties that once haunted you like ghosts, those fears of bankruptcy, aging, and betrayal that crept up on you in the dark, they will slowly dissolve bit by bit until they no longer exist at all. And those things you once desperately longed for, the status, the wealth, the soulmate you dreamed about, when you stop chasing them with that twisted, hungry energy, they will actually arrive on their own, on some perfectly ordinary day, following the vine of cause and effect. They will come to you uninvited. This is the extraordinary power that emerges when you stop grasping outward and learn to surrender to your own inner rhythm of growth. Surrendering to the present, not fighting the impermanence that objectively exists, not clinging to obsessions you cannot control. This is essentially the process of gathering back all the energy that had been leaking away. When your energy stops flowing outward and begins returning inward, your presence undergoes a fundamental shift. Good fortune and good opportunities are drawn toward you like iron filings to a magnet. In that moment, your heart will experience a peace and fullness unlike anything you have known before. So, my friend, give yourself permission to let go. You truly do not need to pursue perfection in all things. That is an impossible and illusory goal. You do not need to be flawless in everyone's eyes. You do not need to painfully twist yourself into someone. You are not just to please a certain group or impress a certain person. You absolutely do not need to sacrifice your sleep and health today for an unknown future that even economists cannot predict. You only need to remember one thing. Hold your core ground. Quietly and steadily sharpen your essential skills. Be yourself. Pour your full attention into living this minute, this hour, this present moment. Well, when you encounter toxic people or toxic situations, withdraw immediately. Do not dwell. Do not cling. Never allow yourself to sink into that swamp of mental drain. Like pulling a plug from a socket, decisively release your attachment to external factors you cannot control. Take back all those expectations you projected onto others, expectations that only ever brought you heavy disappointment. Learn to shift your perspective when you hit a dead end. Look for the positive meaning hidden behind the difficulty. Learn that when you face a towering wave, you do not throw your body against it. You surrender to its momentum and ride it. Learn to stand before the mirror late at night and gently make peace with that imperfect, scarred, but still trying version of yourself. Believe in your bones that there are arrangements in this universe that transcend human understanding. Believe that the law of cause and effect is the most fundamental, most unbreakable mechanism in existence. Once you do these things, you can be absolutely certain of this. Every tedious effort you ever made to improve yourself, every act of quiet goodness you accumulated in corners where no one was watching, every humiliation you swallowed and every hardship you endured, every attachment you released through tears and tremendous difficulty, none of it disappears. It is all transformed by time into a higher form of energy, stored in the account of your destiny. Sooner or later, in ways you cannot possibly imagine, it will return to you as abundant blessing, with interest, warming you and illuminating the rest of your life. The fundamental operating logic of every human life is exactly the same as a stream, the same as a seed. If you want to eventually flow into the great river of your life and witness its full bloom, you must let go without hesitation of the baseless anxiety born from limited understanding. You must decisively cut off the overthinking that devours you in the dark. You must completely release your obsessive attachment to external power, fame, and the opinions of others. Settle your soul back into this moment, this extremely clear and quiet now. Trust that this world has a higher, more compassionate arrangement at work. Never waste your potential. Never squander this time that will never come again. In the long life ahead, may every one of us, through each shift in perspective and each act of surrender, truly cultivate a mind free of all burdens. No matter how chaotic the world becomes, may your inner self remain at ease. No matter how much pain the past held, never look back and dwell. No matter how much fog the future contains, never worry ahead of time. Plant yourself firmly and steadily in this very second. Live the rest of your life with the clearest mind you can bring. I sincerely wish that every one of you who has stayed with this video to the end can truly release the anxiety in your mind and find the peace you have been missing for so long. May you feel energy flowing back to you as you learn the wisdom of surrender. May you receive the generous blessings that time offers to those who align with natural flow. May this world, complex as it is, but filled with underlying goodness, treat you gently. May you live the rest of your life with complete clarity, complete freedom, and complete ease. On this path of inner growth, as long as you begin, it is never too late. This is Zen Seeker Wu. Thank you for listening. Now go take action and let go.